And hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of CDK Live. Really excited to be here. And we have a really special guest today, Pahud, who we'll talk to in just a moment. But first of all, just, welcome to the channel. With our live streams, the goal here is to always dive into content that's going to be relevant to you as the audience. And you'll see that we really want to dive deep into concepts that are going to make sense for you. They're going to help you get started and get moving quickly. And to start, we thought, what better way to start CDK Live with our first live show than to talk about creating and publishing constructs. It's such a foundational day-to-day task when working with the CDK, whether it's building reusable constructs to share amongst your organization, or if you have codified a construct that you think would be awesome for the community to take advantage of. This show and the goal of today is to help you understand how you can build reusable constructs, share them internally amongst your organization, or just deploy them to something like constructs.dev, where you can actually folks can discover and build on top of that. Before we get started, a couple of things I want to talk about. So the first thing is, if you're here and you're in chat, say hello. Hey, I know you, sir. Welcome. So there's so please say hello in chat. Let us know where you're from, what how familiar you are with the CDK and all that good stuff. So a couple things just to talk about before we get started. Number one, just to go over some really cool releases that we've had over the past month, over the past 45 days. A couple things that I just want to point out. One of which is we recently, for synthetics, CloudWatch synthetics, that construct is now generally available. So it's a stable construct. So if you're looking to build canaries, to monitor your APIs, CloudWatch synthetics is a great service to do that. So we have that construct is now stable. In addition, we also launched the DynamoDB table v2 construct. So if you're looking to build global tables, leverage drift detection, and some of the other newer functionality with DynamoDB tables, and you want to do that in the CDK, check out the table v2 construct. A lot of really great stuff in there, specifically around global tables as well. It makes it so simple to deploy global tables with DynamoDB and the CDK. And the last thing I want to mention is, if you are new to the CDK, or you've been using the CDK for a while, regardless, and you want to just read up on some good practices around the CDK, I highly recommend checking out the best practices guide. I used a shortened URL here just to make it easier to type this in your browser, but this gives you tips on organizing your projects in the CDK, building constructs, when to use composition versus inheritance. A lot of really deep technical content there that's going to help you understand how to build using the CDK in the best, most optimal way. Okay, so that said, let's take it back and let's introduce Pahud. So first of all, if you are in the CDK community, you already know Pahud. I mean, Pahud's a big deal. He's really amazing. He does so much in the CDK world. So Pahud, let's do this. Why don't you introduce yourself, say hello, and then why don't you just jump right into things and let's talk about building and publishing constructs.
Okay. Thanks, Adam. Hi, everyone. My name is Pahud Hsieh, and I'm AWS Solution Architect, and I support AWS CDK team. I'm currently living in New York City, but previously I was from Taiwan. So if you have engagement on Twitter, you probably noticed that I relocated from Taiwan to New York, and I'm super excited for that. I joined AWS in 2016, and it's been more than 6 years. And during that time, we had no CDK at all, and the CloudFormation only support YAML just for a while. And that was a very interesting time. And after that, in 2019, CDK was GA, and that changed a lot of my my life and career in AWS as well, and that also changed how I see the architecture on AWS. When I see something new on AWS, I try to figure out how can I use CDK to provision such architecture like that. So CDK was really a great a great impact for my career in AWS. And if you look at the ConstructHub, we previously announced in a few years before that we already have a lot of third-party constructs published on ConstructHub, which is really amazing, because I believe the one of the major advantages of CDK is allow us to leverage those programming language, those packages from the language we are already familiar with, like Python, like JavaScript, TypeScript, like Golang and Java, and we can leverage those library on like npm.js API to allow us to bundle, to wrap up our abstraction and allow us to reuse that externally or internally. So that is really big for CDK community, and I'm very happy to join the CDK Live today to share how we can build a construct from scratch.
And Pahud, I wanted to touch on something that you mentioned that a lot of people may not know about the CDK when you're building constructs. But so first of all, when you think of constructs, if you're familiar with infrastructure as code, if you use Terraform, it's very similar to the concept of modules, where you build these practices, these good practices. You build these defaults, sane defaults into this reusable package that others can use and then build on top of. And you can publish, and Pahud, I'm probably stealing a little bit of your thunder here, so you're probably going to talk about this, but you can build a construct in TypeScript or JavaScript. You build this reusable construct, and then with JSII, this construct, this library can be exposed and available to all the languages supported in the CDK. So I build it in one language, but then it's available in Golang, it's available in Python, TypeScript, and so on. So obviously, there's steps to do that, but Pahud will, walk us through that. So before we dive into the demo, I do want to just mention, if anyone is new to the CDK or new to constructs, check out the video we did in our CDK Live channel, where basically we just walk through constructs, the various levels and what that means, and so on. So Pahud, take it away, sir.
Sure. Yeah, so thank you, Adam. So today we are gonna build something very small, but hopefully inspiring. That it's a very small, tiny construct. So before we build a construct, before we design a construct, so construct is something that is kind of like a very basic unit in the CDK space. It's kind of like container. A construct can contain another construct. So yeah, so basically it's a kind of wrapper. We can define what should be put into that container. So for example, if you are a startup or enterprise customer, you probably would define your own custom microservice, right? For example, my fancy service, and that could be Fargate or could be App Runner, whatever. But you definitely would not expose all the detailed configuration to the surface, because you want to simplify that. So when you publish your fancy service, you would expose something really mandatory, really necessary to configure as mandatory properties. So your user just have to configure those very minimal properties before they are allowed to spin up the fancy service. So that is the idea of CDK construct. We hide the complexity. We just expose some very required but minimal properties to the surface, and we try to design with the sensible defaults under the hood. So that is and also the best practice. The best practice could be from some public, for example, AWS blog posts, or your internal practice. Some enterprise customer, they probably have their internal practice, internal guidance, so you can integrate your own best practice into the design and just put everything under the hood for that. So that is how construct work. And so today we are gonna create something. Let's call it bar, BAR. So we because I already have another construct full FOO. So today I'm gonna create a bar. So bar, what's bar? Let's define our library would call CDK bar. So think about it. When you publish your library, your bar library, and when your user instantiate your construct like new bar, what's gonna happen? For example, I would like the construct to create a application load balance Fargate service, for example, like that. But I would like to make something optional, some properties optional. So this is the idea what we are gonna build today. So today I will show you how to build that and publish to ConstructHub, hopefully. And we are gonna use the Projen to generate the project for us. So in case you are not familiar with Projen, so Projen is a project generator. So you can it's a open source project, and it's also very popular, not only on AWS CDK, but CDK is a very popular project to allow you to manage your GitHub, your project on GitHub. So we are going to use Projen to generate a skeleton of our bar repository, and we are going to build from scratch and get it published.
Awesome, and I posted the link to Projen below, so folks can check it out.
Okay, so yeah, let's get it started. So today I'm gonna create a new repository on GitHub, and I'm gonna open this repository with GitHub, which is a cloud IDE. We will talk a little bit about it later. So the idea is that today we have some very interesting toolings like Cloud IDE, like generative AI assistant. We have a lot of interesting things. So we hopefully we can put it all together and show you guys that, okay, what is our developer experience looks like building CDK simply in the browser. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna create a new repository. So let's call it CDK bar. Okay, and I'm gonna make it private for now and create an empty README. Okay, so this is an empty repository, literally empty, just a README. Okay, so I'm gonna open this repository and you know, with a Cloud IDE, a Gitpod. Gitpod is a Cloud IDE. We encourage our user to develop for the daily CDK development. So it's very similar like Cloud9 or Amazon Code Catalyst. We can definitely talk more about those Cloud IDE in the future. But today I'm gonna open this repository with Gitpod, which is a Cloud IDE.
So Pahud, I guess why would you know, so a lot of developers are very familiar with their local development environments, and I know we don't want to go too much into this, but I guess what are some of the benefits of using something like Gitpod as opposed to just using my local?
Yeah.
Code?
So the advantage using Cloud IDE is very similar to like Cloud9. So you have everything bundled in your environment. It's it should be running in the container environment. So everything is self-contained. You have your CLI developer tools, everything there. So you don't have to install the tooling from your laptop, which is technically possible, but it could also screw up your local environment. You have to take care of different version like Python or Node, right, in your local environment. But using a cloud ID is great because, when you complete your development, you just throw it away. You just destroy it, and boom, everything is gone. Yeah, and the persistence is always on GitHub. So develop your code on Cloud IDE. When you finished, commit and push to your public or private repository, and then destroy or just throw away this Cloud IDE. Yeah, so that is how you do the essential idea of that. Yeah. So
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So okay. So now you'll see that I'm open this repository with the Cloud ID Git path. So it's pretty much like a native local VS Code experience. So if you have some experience using the Amazon Code Catalyst dev environment, Amazon Code Catalyst dev environment is having the remote ID support with local VS Code UI, which is really awesome as well. And we definitely can talk what the CDK experience looks like with Amazon Code Catalyst in the future. But yeah, but today here we are. So it's basically you can consider this as a local VS Code. So for the local VS Code, the first thing I'm gonna do is that I will authenticate myself with the AWS toolkit. So AWS toolkit is a VS Code extension with some developer tools support like CDK, Code Whisperer, and the Code Catalyst. So what I'm gonna do today is that I'm gonna log in my builder ID for the Code Whisperer. So hopefully I can have some experience, AI experience, like Copilot, yeah. But basically we will be using the Code Whisperer.
And if you're not already using like an AI coding companion like Code Whisperer, like GitHub Copilot, I highly recommend checking them out. It'll never be, it's not always going to be the most perfect suggestion. It's not going to get them right all the time, but I will tell you from my experience using them now for a few months, it is such a game changer in writing code and in development.
Yeah.
It just the suggestions, a lot of mundane tasks, regular expressions, writing unit tests, it can help you with a lot of these things, and it gives you a head start. So, it doesn't matter if you're the most experienced developer in the world. These coding companions can really make your life a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so we will share a little bit experience about that. So you are not, sometimes you are, just like someone is helping you around, pushing you to write the code. You are not really write everything, but you have a lot of hints from the companion, which is really amazing. Yeah. So now, first thing first, we are gonna bootstrap our repository because it's a empty repository. So we are gonna use the Projen to initialize our repository as a CDK construct ready repository. So with Projen, we just run nps Projen and new. nps Projen new means that I'm gonna initialize this empty repository as some purpose. For some purpose, for example, for AWS, if we just type nps Projen new, you'll see that it essentially support a lot of different project type like Java, Python, TypeScript, CDKs, CDKTF, JSI. And what we are doing now is that I'm gonna create a AWS CDK construct type repository. So it's for AWS CDK construct library project. Okay.
yeah, and what's really nice about this, Pahud, is first of all the different supported languages and use cases, but this gives you the scaffolding, and it manages a lot of and it builds a lot of the stuff that to do it on your own every time gets really repetitive and kind of a pain in the butt, but like it gives you a GitHub action workflow. It manages your package JSON. It does all of these, a Dependabot, all the things that are just kind of take time to set up and you have to configure just right. Projen manages all of that and helps, to kind of package all of that for you. So it makes the experience a lot easier.
Yeah. So with Projen, all you have to focus is a single configuration file, Projen RC. Okay, so it could be a TypeScript or JavaScript. Previously, it was a JavaScript, but for AWS CDK construct project type, it's a TypeScript. So you only focus on this TypeScript configuration. It's just kind of like CDK for project. So yeah, but it is opinionated, very opinionated.
Hey, Pahud, could you explain just really quick with Projen, the difference between, so Project has a CDK app generator and it has a CDK construct generator. Can you quickly talk through the difference between the two?
You mean CDK COI, CDK to initialize CDK app and library versus Projen, right?
Yeah.
So before Projen, the official recommended way to initialize your CDK project is using a CDK COI, CDK init as an app or library, which is great, but that is designed for one-time purpose. When I say one-time, I mean that it's not designed for daily iteration on GitHub. So for example, if you are develop your application or library on GitHub, you definitely would have to leverage some benefits like GitHub workflows, right? But CDK COI will not take care of GitHub workflow for you. Instead, if you use Projen, Projen will provision some the dot file, like for example, will take care of everything, like for example, git ignore, ESLint RC, or like tsconfig dev JSON, and the most important of all is all the workflow YAMLs for the GitHub actions. So you don't have to manually edit those YAML configuration. Instead, Projen generate them for you, and you should not touch them. You should only focus on this single file, and that is the benefit over the CDK COI. CDK COI is designed for CDK only. It's not designed for maintaining or operating a project for the daily iteration. So yeah, so you definitely can use CDK COI for some one-time usage, but if you are really gonna develop your CDK construct, I would highly recommend using Projen.
Cool. And Projen, you can create like CDK apps with Projen, and it can scaffold those as well.
Yeah, actually you can. So if you look at the NPS Projen new, it offers some project type. For example, if you're trying to create a CDK application using TypeScript, you can use the AWS CDK app TS, which will initialize a repository for the purpose of CDK application in TypeScript, also Python and Java. So yeah, it's pretty much similar to how we Bootstrap with CDK init, with CDK COI, but there are a lot of things it also takes care, including especially the GitHub workflows. So that would be a huge benefit using Projen.
Yeah, so you can use Projen not only to build your CDK constructs, which is when we want to build those reusable libraries to share across our organization, or to make public, to share with the community. But it can also help you with building and managing your CDK applications, which when we talk about a CDK application, that encompasses your use case, right? So like the application use case. So if I'm deploying, you'd mentioned a load balance Fargate service. If I have an app, I have this one demo app, it's called a Wiki API. It just talks to Wikipedia. I use a Python library. That's my application. I deploy that via the CDK. That's for my specific use case. So that's your CDK app versus your CDK construct.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go on, Pahud.
Yeah. So
thanks, Robert.
Later, I will demo that after you build your CDK construct library, how to wrap it up as a CDK application, so you can test exactly in the same IDE So yeah, so I will show you how to do that. But for now, we just initialize the repository as a CDK construct library repository like this. So what I'm doing now is that if you look at here, we have some default configuration files generated by Projen. And for this Mergify, which is a very cool applications, help you to do the PR merge. But for now, I'm not gonna use Mergify. So Projen allow you to turn it off. For example, GitHub options. We have some options here. And like Mergify, I'm gonna turn it off. So if you mouse over, it's a boolean. So I'm gonna turn it off, make it like false, right? So this will turn, turn off the Mergify. So every time when you modify the Projen RC, make sure always run nps Projen again. So the Projen command will read the RC configuration and resynthesize everything for you. So in this case, I'm gonna remove this YAML file, right? So I turn it off here. I run the Projen again.
And yeah, just I think a good tip here is
right.
If you are like, don't modify the package, don't modify the configuration files. The Projen RC TypeScript file is that's your entry point.
Yeah.
And Projen reads that and then modifies all of these configuration files for you.
Yeah. So
it'll override any changes you made manually.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So okay. So now we are ready. So let's look at the directory. So we have to focus on the source src and also test as well. So if you look at the index ts in the src, so this is a very tiny sample, but it's not really a construct. It's just a class. So what we are doing now is that I'm gonna remove everything in this file. And traditionally, we don't just edit on the index ts. We probably will create a new file. For example, in my case, I probably will call it something like main ts. So main ts could be my everything in this file, and the index ts just export everything from main ts, right? Okay. So now in this main TypeScript, I'm gonna define what my bar construct looks like. So when you build your own construct, the most important is the construct you need to import, and it's from the constructs package. Previously, this is built in AWS CDK, but as I remember, like after CDK v2. It is now independent as a constructs in the constructs package, right? Okay. So and think about it. So we are gonna create a bar, the bar construct, and the bar is something that will provision the application load balance Fargate service for me. Right, so definitely we would require like AWS ECS patterns, and we probably will also require AWS EC2 because the VPC construct is from AWS EC2, and the ECS is actually running with VPC, so we probably will also require those packages. So for now, I'm gonna import all the required from the AWS CDK lib, including AWS EC2 as EC2, AWS ECS as ECS, AWS ECS patterns as patterns.
And you can see that the code companion there, the AI helping a little bit too, right?
Okay, yeah, and that's all. And don't worry about this. Because we can fix that. With the hotkey, like for me, like Shift Command P to bring up the panel command panel, and ESLint fix all auto fixable problem. Just click, and it will just fix everything for you.
This is why we use IDEs.
So don't worry about some tiny warning. Don't worry, because it's just 1 second thing.
Exactly.
To get it fixed. Okay, so now we are let's define our bar construct. So when you use the AI assistant like Copilot or Code Whisperer, so you probably will first write a comment like create a bar construct, like here, right? And your assistant will do everything else for you, right? So it's a very basic, if you look at the bar, it's essentially it tends the construct. So basically it's a construct right here, right? Okay, but there's nothing inside, nothing in this construct. So what we are doing now is when the bar construct is instantiated, we are going to create a application load balance Fargate service, right? But first, we probably let's create ALB Fargate service. Let's see how it works.
Wow. Yeah, it got it.
Oh, sounds good. Okay, let's. Whoa, no, I don't like environment, but that's fine. Okay.
See, sometimes it gets a little weird, and that
okay,
we don't need that.
We don't need that. Yeah. Okay, so
again, as you're building this, our use case is, at company foo, we want to create a bar construct that all of our developers can use. They've containerized applications. We want to leverage serverless containers with Fargate. And we'll put that behind a load balancer. And we want to simplify that by just bundling that into a construct that kind of abstracts all of this away. Yeah. In this, dummy use case.
Yeah, and please note that the ECS service is essentially running. We are using the Fargate now, but the Fargate task could be running in your VPC, right? So you have to define the VPC property here. If it is not defined, a new VPC will be created, and you definitely would not do that, especially if you already have existing VPC, right? So the idea so what we are doing now is that, okay, this is our construct. So if we run if we provision this construct, we will have this, but this will also create a new VPC and new cluster for us, right? So we would like to make it flexible. So because this construct is gonna be a public library to allow different people with different preference. Some people would like to deploy in an existing VPC or default VPC, something like that, while others probably will deploy in a new VPC. So for me, I probably will consider to expose this to the service as an optional property. So customer can, opt in an existing VPC or create a new one. So we would like to wrap up all the properties in an interface. So I'm gonna create a bar prop interface for bar. Nothing happened.
Sometimes it doesn't feel like working. That's okay.
It's coming.
There we go.
Okay. So this would be the property for this construct, the interface of the property for this construct, and I would like to make the VPC property optional. So if you don't specify any VPC, then I create a new VPC for you. No problem. I want to make it as simplified as possible. So if you have a question mark here, this means that this property would be optional.
And this is why one of just the kind of the core foundational benefits of the CDK is being able to author in a general programming language. This is all just native constructs of a general programming language. So, if you're familiar with it, you prefer authoring in a GPL, it just feels natural and it just feels good. It's a nice fit.
Yeah. Okay. So we have defined our properties, and there's only one element, VPC, which is optional, and we are passing the properties here to this construct. And even this property could be optional. So I'm having a question mark here. So this could be optional. I will show you later why it is important here. So if everything could be optional, so this could be optional, right? Okay, so now we will allow user to specify their VPC, and I'm gonna define a property of this construct. Let's call it VPC, and it's a VPC interface. The IVPC is an interface of VPC, which could be a new VPC created by CDK or existing one imported by CDK. They are all VPC interface, right? So now I'm gonna define that. Okay, so this property could be okay. If you specify the VPC for me in this property, okay, fine. Then I will use your VPC. Otherwise, I will create a new one for you. Okay, so this is the double question mark is that, okay, if this is true, then we just assign this to this attribute. Otherwise, I would create something or do something else and assign to this here. So I will do to make the code even cleaner. So I would like to have a private method, like for example, create a VPC, and this method essentially just return a new VPC for me. We will implement it later, but this is how it was, just single line. Okay, if you passed the VPC for me, okay, I will make it this VPC. Otherwise, I will create a default one for you. So let's scroll down to here. Let's create private create VPC function. Okay, so I'm gonna make it even simpler. So net gateways, I prefer to have at least one net gateway, because it would allow my private network to have internet access, right? So okay, so the default. Okay, so if you do not specify VPC, okay, that's fine. I create one for you, and the default one would be this one. Okay, so it's a new VPC, only one net gateway, and yeah, by default it will be cross 3AZ for you. Okay, so don't worry about this. Remember, just one 1 second fix.
and by the way, so you could also, like just when you think about building on constructs and as your use cases grow and expand, and you have to solve, various edge cases across the organization, you could even say if like one of your input, properties is, the deployment environment, if that equals production,
yeah,
then your VPC could have maybe 3 NAT gateways, and maybe it's a little richer and more robust.
Yeah.
But for dev, you want to be super cheap. So that's, again, by using this general programming language, you have a lot of power and flexibility to make decisions, programmatically.
Yeah. And think about it, we can even expose this image to the surface as an optional property. So it doesn't have to be always Nginx. So if you're going to make it some very highly reusable, highly flexible, you definitely would expose something to the surface. So it would be a very general library for different purpose. They can specify different container image. They can specify their different port mapping anything like that. But in this simple, in this sample, I just expose VPC as a demo, how to make it an optional, right? Okay, so we should be fine. We should be ready now. This looks great to me as a very tiny construct as bar. So when user provision the bar construct, they should have A or B load balance Fargate service, which is a L3 construct, and this VPC is optional. If you don't specify any VPC, I create a VPC for you. That's all. Okay, so now what I'm doing now is that I'm gonna write a CDK application. And here, so for example, that CDK application would be using this construct to provision relevant resources in that single application. So what I'm doing now is that, for example, I'm gonna write, for example, I will call it integ default PS. It could be an integration testing, but when it's my personal preference. When I see integ, I would have the idea that it's essentially a 4 CDK application. So with a 4 CDK application, you definitely need CDK app, CDK stack, right? And also, we are gonna import the bar, which we just defined. It's not smart enough. From it should be source. Oh, it should be here. No, it should be main, right? Okay. Now, as a CDK application, first thing first, app, new app. I hate it.
Sometimes it has a mind of its own. It's okay.
Okay, so after an app, you create empty stack. Okay, and after stack, you create the bar, which is running in this stack. So you have application, which is the outside of everything. And in the application, you have single stack. In the single stack, you have bar. So it's like a container, right? One contains another, right? So bar is running in this stack. Stack is running in this application. And what I'm doing now is that, okay, so, see, I don't have to specify any properties because I just make it optional here, right? So I don't have to specify. So if you don't specify anything, which is fine, but if you remember that you didn't specify VPC, right? So this construct will create a new VPC for you. Okay, so let's run the CDK diff. So now I'm gonna run CDK diff to see what's gonna happen if I deploy this application. But if you remember, this is actually a construct library. It's not a CDK application, and we don't have CDK JSON, which defines the application entry point of everything. So CDK CLI will have no idea where the entry point is, where is the application is, right? So we will do this npx CDK application, specify our application. So where is our application? Our application is actually this file. So this file is TypeScript. So we will run ps node and integ and src integ default ps. So this would be our application, and I'm gonna run CDK diff. Yeah, but I don't have CDK CLI, and I'm not gonna install CDK CLI for now. I would specify the dependency in Projen instead. Let Projen install everything dependency for me rather than one-time installation from here. So let's check out the Projen RC. So if you check the Projen RC, you have dev depends. Dev depends means that all the npm modules which is required only for development. Please note, not only for development, not for this library. So you definitely would not include CDK CLI into this library. So when people npm install this library, they also install CDK. No, so we are not gonna do that. So I'm gonna define the CDK CLI in the dev dependencies, and the CDK CLI is from AWS CDK. And because I'm gonna compile the TypeScript into JavaScript with TS node, so I will also need TS node here as well. Okay, so I'm gonna run nps Projen again to allow Projen to install the 2 additional packages for me. But what's happening now is that nps Projen will update the package JSON again with those 2 dev dependencies included in package JSON. Immediately after that, we'll immediately have a yarn install against this package JSON. So it will just install the 2 additional packages for me. So if you look at the package JSON, you will see that this node here, right? And also the AWS CDK CLI.
Yep, here it is.
Yeah, and they are all developer dependencies. And young log, you will see it's accurate version of everything here. What's installed already, right? So now you have the CDK CLI and the TS node, so you can run this command. Okay, so this means that, okay, you have not configured your AWS CLI yet, because if you remember, this is a Cloud IDE. Cloud IDE is an ephemeral, and you definitely should configure AWS CLI. But for Cloud IDE or for any third-party environment, temporary environment, you should not configure static AWS SS key and secret key ID in that environment. And the best practice is always using the AWS IAM Identity Center, which is known formally as AWS SSO. So, but we are not gonna dive into AWS SSO today. So I will show you my personal preference, that how I configure everything just with 1 second. So
yeah. So you configure that, but yeah, definitely you don't want to hard code your credentials anywhere. You want temporary, short-lived, credentials, and when dealing with access keys and secrets, always.
Yeah, I prefer to prepare my AWS config with AWS SS support in my clipboard. So when I need something, I just passed into the Cloud IDE and install the latest AWS CLI for me, and also configure the AWS config for me. So what I have to do now is just run AWS SSO login.
Yeah, this is a really nice integration. I use this all the time. It's great.
Okay, so let's come back here. Now, if I run AWS STS get caller identity, you will see that I'm now authenticated as a role, and I'm now an administrator role. So I have everything I need to deploy any application. And but I didn't specify any static SS key or secret key in this environment, which is great. Yeah. So now I'm gonna run the diff again. So yeah, diff. So make sure before every deployment always run the CDK diff, because this allows you to have a general idea of what's gonna happen, what's gonna create it, what's gonna delete it. So forget about it, because before this demo, I already created a stack. So let's just make it stack 2. let's run again. I have now I'm deployed a different stack name, so make sure that it's a new deployment. Okay, so now if I deploy this application, the CDK will synthesize into CloudFormation, and CloudFormation is gonna create so many resources for me, and yeah. And I really hate create new VPC here. So this is the reason I make it optional as an optional property. And now let's see if I'm gonna reuse an existing VPC, what's gonna happen. So now I would like to make it use my existing default VPC, for example. So if you already have a default VPC, now you can import that default VPC with EC2 VPC from lookup. No. We should use this experience. hey, what's going on? No, nothing happened.
Well, I had some suggestions. Look, sometimes again, that's what we said, right? Like sometimes it works really well, other times not so much, but it gets better every single day.
Yeah.
When using these AI coding companions. Oh yeah, you got to import the EC2 library. But just another thing to point out, Pahud, that when you create these constructs, the user that's actually consuming these constructs is writing very little code here, and you can abstract as much as you want into that construct. Always, I think it's important to just exercise caution and think through the design, because you don't want to create, these platform teams, oftentimes we want to do everything, and we want to, constrain developers to only doing certain things. You have to obviously be careful if you don't give them the ability to kind of build out and build on top of these things, or ways to escape from the construct. You kind of find yourself in this position where they're coming back to you, we need this, we need this, we need this, and then platforms can kind of fail at that point. So things to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, and again, you built this construct. Now you're bringing your own VPC and passing that into the construct, which is really cool. So showing kind of the flexibility that you've built in to this construct. So let's see.
Okay, interesting. Is IVPC missing the fiery properties from the type view? Okay, so let's so this should be IVPC, not VPC. Okay, so IVPC could be either imported one or a new VPC, right? So you cannot specify when you say VPC is a new construct, only new VPC will be accepted. But now if you define IVPC, it could be either the imported one or the new one. Okay, fix that. Okay, so now let's run the CDK diff again, and hopefully we are not gonna create any new VPC here.
And so the CDK CLI here, since you're importing a VPC, it's actually going to look up the existing VPC and then bring that into the CloudFormation for the resources to deploy to that VPC, right?
Yeah, interesting. VPC.
Did it create a VPC? Was it trying to create it? I didn't see.
Interesting. It's just trying to create a new one. Okay, let me check. Okay, so
see if the or operator.
or etc ECV from lookup.
So you're creating. It looks like you're creating the VPC, or you're.
Yeah, I actually specify this property, so it should not create any new VPC for me.
So we have our props there.
Okay.
This is why I love this. It is Git pod caching the older CDK synth. So by the way, Robert, nice to see you here. And he said sync, but he meant CDK synth.
Oh, sorry. You see,
you commented it out.
Stupid. What's going on? No, I need to specify VPC. VPC equals VPC. You just enter VPC here.
This dot VPC, right?
Why?
This dot VPC.
Oh, okay. This VPC. Yeah. That's all. Yeah, let's run again. Ooh.
So this is why I love these live streams though, because we run into issues and then we have to figure it out on the fly, which is cool.
Okay, no new PC was got created here. Ooh, awesome. So let's CDK deploy.
And so also in this construct, you didn't pass in like subnets to deploy to and all these things. So, the application load balance Fargate service construct is an L3 construct, which is, like a pattern. So it has a lot of opinion built in. And there's a lot of inputs that you can pass in to override some of this opinion. But in this case, it's going to deploy the load balancer to a public subnet. I believe the tasks will be deployed to private subnets. And then it connects all of those together.
Yeah. And the deployment could take a few minutes. And during this time, let's talk a little bit about the testing. So testing is still very important when you develop your CDK construct, because it will allow you to make sure that every time when you modify your code, that you have to make sure that it always pass all the tests. And in CDK, we have some testing model, like for example, the snapshot tests. So to make sure that it always matches the snapshot, static snapshot. And another option is to make sure that the required resource would always be provisioned with some specific property. So what I'm doing now is that I'm gonna write two sample tests here. First, I'm gonna make sure that it always synthesizes correctly into the template correctly. And second, I'm gonna make sure that it always create an application load balancer ALB, and also a Fargate service. But what I'm doing now is not. I would like the code whisperer to help me a little bit because let's see how it works. Okay. So if you look at the test, there is already a hello test here, but this is definitely not what we are doing here. So what I'm trying to do now is that first thing first, what we really need is the assertions library from AWS CDK lib, so we can make assertions later. AWS CDK lib. So also, we will need the application and stack, because what we are doing now is create the 4 tiny CDK application, and after that we validate this the synthesized template to make sure that first it matches snapshot. Second, the template will create some very important resources for us, like load balancer, like Fargate service, like everything like that. So my first test would be, okay, match snapshot. Okay, so in this scope, I'm gonna create a new, very tiny, simple CDK application. So basically, we can just come here and we can copy paste from here, and let's say, we just let it create a new VPC for us. That's fine. So just make it as simple as possible. We don't import a new VPC. No, we don't do that. Let's just new a bar for us, and we have to import bar. Please note we are in test directory, so we have to point to the source directory here, and let's just make everything default. So when you write your first test, the first thing first, the most important thing is that just you have to test the minimal required properties. So in this case, I'm testing no properties at all to check its default behavior. Yeah, and if you have time, you can test with some other optional properties to check its different behavior. So you can have a better testing coverage, right? But for now, I'm gonna test the default behavior with no optional properties specified. Okay. So now, okay, I got it. So now, but I prefer this way. Template. Where is my template? The template would be here. So this would be my template, assertions template from stack. So this would be my template. And then I would expect my template to match snapshot. Okay, that's all. That's all. So when you first time run this test, because there's no snapshot, so this test will create a new snapshot for you, which is literally CloudFormation template, and that will be part of your commit to your repository. It will always come with your library. This will make sure that in the future, if you update anything, it would always match the original snapshot. Otherwise, the snapshot should be updated, right? So this is essentially this idea. So before we run this test, let's just click this output to see our CDK deployment. It should be an Nginx greeting screen. Hey, welcome to Nginx. Okay, so
amazing.
We are confident now that the deployment is successful now, and we are not creating any new VPC, which is great. Okay, so now we already have our first test case here. What I'm doing now is run the young test. So when you run young test, the npx Projen test will be triggered, and the jest will be triggered. So it has a lot of abstraction layer, but you have some very handy shortcuts like young test, young build, and everything. So it's very easy for you, and let's all configure it by Projen for you. Okay.
So
okay.
Yeah. So the testing. So just to recap really quick. So where we're at, we had a use case that we wanted to build a reusable construct around. We created our construct, and we quickly, as we were building our construct, realized that we needed some input parameters to mutate the construct based on the end user's needs. So we decided to make VPC an input parameter. We did that. We tested the construct. It worked. We were able to deploy using that construct. And now, as a good practice, which Robert in the chat was making some funny jokes, but basically saying like, test-driven development. Well, usually we go we preach for TDD, yet we do the opposite. But I think he called it confidence-driven development. I like that. But so another really good practice is to build testing into your CDK applications. Again, leveraging a general programming language. It's much easier to do this. There's established libraries to help test your code. So we've built some tests, ran them. We're good. So anyway, just wanted to update where we're at currently, but this is really cool. Go on, Pahud.
And now I have completed my second test with AI.
That was what I did. I did all the talking, and that you let AI build the next test for you.
Yeah, but actually we don't have lambda function here. So what I'm going to check is we have at least one A or B. So let's see what's gonna happen here. Okay, awesome. So the has so the has resource property means that it's gonna check the resource property, not the number of resource. So which is great. So I'm gonna check the elastic load balancer V2 load balancer. But please note that E or B V2 could be only or B or A or B. So if you are if you can do a little bit further, you should check the type should be application. That'll be enough. You don't need to check everything else. That would be enough. Okay, so let's run the young test again.
And by the way, I really think we should do another episode on testing. That's another one we'll do one of these days, but this is really good.
Yeah, we should also cover the Integ runner for another module for CDK development. But but assertion library is very simple. You just test the existence of every the most important resource, test its property, test the number, the count of that resource, and also test the snapshot match. That will be all. That will be enough. So now we have two tests. First, snapshot match, pass. Second, required resource, pass. But yeah, we definitely should also test the Fargate service or anything else. But yeah, we don't have to dive too much here. But I think for now it looks good here. So what I'm trying to do now is that, okay, now my application looks good to me here. And now the test, I can pass all the tests. And now let's run the young build. So young build is that it will be trigger the npx Projen build, and also a lot of command like a lot of command will be executed, but it's essentially do something for us, like run the make sure that the application can really build up, and second, make sure that it will generate API document for us with JSII docgen. So JSII docgen is essentially generate a markdown API document with all the API for us. So the best practice is always specify as much the doc string as possible in your code. So the JSI docgen will generate very, very great API document for you. So you don't have to write any document. But for now, if you look at this generated API document, it essentially looks like this. We didn't specify any inline doc string in our code, so there's no description. But to do that, JSI docgen will render this document for us, and it will be published along with our package, which is awesome.
So Pahud, we have about 5 more minutes. If we can get through and publish, I think we're almost there.
Yeah, I think we're almost there. Let's get it published. Okay. So now it can build. So now we are gonna publish. So the to publish from, we have 2 options: to publish from local or to publish through the GitHub Actions. So if you are gonna publish from local, so you can run this command npx Projen release. So what's gonna happen if you run this command? So if you look at the GitHub workflows, and there's a release YAML here, and if you look at the release YAML here, it essentially will publish to if you look at it will create a GitHub release note for you. So for example, 001 or 010 create a release note for you, and after that it will, by default, it will publish npm for you. by default, it's gonna publish to npm.js, and you have to specify your npm token from your npm.js developer dashboard. If you didn't specify this as a secret, it's not gonna publish to npm. And now, if you are gonna publish to like PyPI, for example, so here I'm gonna create, I'm gonna specify publish to PyPI, and we have some in the module. Okay, that's all. Okay, so it's pretty smart. So I also specify, okay, I'm also gonna publish to PyPI as well. So please, if you remember, every time when you modify this RC, always run npm Projen to provision the required YAML for you. So in this case, we can expect that this YAML, release YAML would be modified. So let's see. Let's look at this file again. See, release PyPI was added in this YAML, and I don't have to handwrite this YAML. Projen just define this for me, and I will have to define the username and password, the twine username and password, which is the PyPI login credentials in my GitHub secrets. Okay, so now, okay, what I'm doing now is that I think everything is good. I'm gonna submit my first commit to my GitHub repository. But don't worry, don't panic, because it's not really gonna publish, because I have yet defined my credentials. So don't worry, it will just make a first release, which should be 000. And after that, if I define my credentials and bump the release, then it will publish to npm and PyPI. Okay, so now I'm gonna publish. And before that, please note that there is some file or directory you definitely should not publish to should not commit to your Git repository. And for example, CDK out. CDK out is something CDK Cloud Assembly was synthesized, and you should not commit that into the repository. And if you, and the CDK context JSON is your context variables. This could disclose your AWS account, your subname ID, it could be a little bit sensitive. So we definitely would exclude this. So what I'm gonna do, so traditionally we would define in like git ignore or npm ignore, here, npm ignore and git ignore, right? But remember, we are in Projen. We should not touch everything here. We should define our strategy in this configuration file. So so now I'm gonna define the exclusion definition. Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me check my sample. Okay, so this is my sample definition here. I'm gonna use the definition, the exclusion here. So what I'm doing now is that I define the common exclusion like CDK out, CDK context, and CDK context JSON, and they should be excluded both in npm ignore and git ignore. That's all. So let's run the npx project again, and the git ignore and the npm ignore will be updated, and those files will be excluded. See, it's not in here. So what we are doing now is that, okay, so we should be good to for our first submit. Release YAML. Okay, and because we are at the main branch, so what I'm doing now is that I'm gonna check out to another branch, and after that I'm gonna create a pull request for the main branch. So let's check out to, for example, CDK Live, new branch, and I'm gonna publish to the new branch CDK Live. Okay, so I'm published to CDK Live. Now I have main branch and CDK Live branch. What I'm doing now is I'm gonna create a pull request for the main branch. So now I just click create a pull request from the CDK Live to main branch here, and the PR description would be like initial commit. Okay, let's create a pull request. Okay, now our pull request is created. You can just click the number 1. Yeah, so this is our first pull request. So what's happening now is that when you create a pull request, there will be some workflows like build. Essentially, the build workflow will try to build up everything for you. It's essentially like run the build for you on the GitHub Actions. So to double check to make sure that it will always successfully build before it get approved or merged, right? We can wait a little minute here, but for now, I would just hit the merge. But typically there would be a PR review process and with some approval, and approval could trigger another workflow, and there will be a spot to merge this pull request for you. But yeah, we don't do that for today. So I'm gonna just merge the request for now.
And again, Projen built that PR, workflow process. You didn't have to build it on your own. Projen built all that.
Yeah, here. So the GitHub directory is essentially all the workflow here. So you have release workflow, upgrade workflow, pull request, lint workflow, build workflow for you. So now, if your PR is merged, the release workflow will be triggered. So let's look at the actions here. Here is the release workflow triggered by another definition here. So if you look at this release workflow, it's essentially try to release, do some steps here. So first, it's gonna create a release node on GitHub. So I guess it should be 000 for the very first release. And second, it's gonna publish to PyPI and NPM, which would fail because I didn't specify any credentials for them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, what I'm doing now is like I'm gonna specify the credential in the GitHub secrets. It would be in the settings, but I'm gonna drag because I would not expose those credentials. So I'm gonna configure those in a different window for a few seconds.
We're running a bit short on time here. Mm-hmm. Do you think maybe we can wrap here? And
okay, so I think it could be take a little bit longer, but let's look at my previous working sample here. So this is my it's essentially a working sample CDK full. So full comes before bar. So yeah, so if you look at the GitHub Actions release workflow, it will just published to NPM PyPI for you. And if you look at the NPM.js, you should be able to immediately search the CDK package here. So it would be in the NPM.js, and the ConstructHub would typically take like 1 hour or 2 hours to discover that, and so it would index in the ConstructHub. And after that, you would be able to test the remote package exactly in the same Integ default TS. So for example, let's just 1 minute. Hold on a second. So for example, if you can import this from the remote one rather than local one. And make sure you specify CDK full or CDK bar in the project TS.json in the dependencies. So this is the package dependency. So if you are gonna import remote package rather than local one, you have to specify this. So it will really install the CDK construct from remote, and you can run this testing again. But this time we are gonna use the remote one. Make sure that the behavior is consistent. Then you are good. So this would be essentially how you build up a CDK construct from scratch with Projen and with local testing and the publishing with GitHub workflow, and last but not least, make sure that your published construct would be have exactly the same behavior as your local testing. Yeah, that's all. That's pretty much of it.
Awesome. Okay, Pahud, thank you so much. This was an awesome session. For those that for what's ahead, we have a show coming up in a couple of weeks where we're gonna actually talk about some cost controls, and there's a really cool library out there that can help with some of these billing alarms and making sure you don't go over costs with certain services. So Pahud, thanks again. And
thank you.
For everyone else, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. And you're going to see more Pahud, I promise. He's going to be here a lot more. So
okay, hope you enjoy it.
So much.
Thank you. Bye.